I was fascinated when Trump went on Patrick Bet-David. He was the Theo Von, who's got really big now. And, of course, Joe Rogan. And there was a lot of shenanigans with YouTube, which is Google, which is Alphabet, which are a major donor to the left.
What were?
Yes, they certainly were in the Biden era. Yeah. I mean, they're not top, but they're still Alphabet, YouTube, Google are still quite high up on the list. And, in 2 days, that YouTube with Joe Rogan and Donald Trump had got nearly 40 million views, and you couldn't really search for it. So I'm looking at this going, I'm a big fan of independent media. You've grown a big channel. Our mutual friends, people like Dan Wootton, have become more successful when they've been independent. And I think disrupting the BBC and the mainstream media, I think overall is good. So do you think that's maybe what's going to give Trump the edge? He went on all these podcasts, he got hundreds of millions of views.
Well, it's funny because Trump's always said it's mainstream media for me. He's always said it's mainstream media for me. He said, internet, I'm the king of the internet, but it's mainstream media for me. I think mainstream media, still, the newspapers, the big radio and TV channels, I think mainstream media still sets agendas. It frames the debate and where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But if you want eyes on, there's no doubt it's Joe Rogan and elsewhere.
Yeah.
And there's no question, is there, that the world's changing incredibly rapidly. We come and sit here in 5 or 10 years' time, the mainstream as we know it right now, very little of it will exist. So, yeah. And in fact, if I hadn't been elected as Member of Parliament for Clacton to represent those good people, I'd probably be seriously considering doing my own thing.
Wow, as in your own media company?
My own channel, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with other people and yeah, because I think...
Would that give you more freedom?
I think... I mean, it may well be. I mean, and by the way, GB News have done an incredible job. I mean, I'm not knocking GB News. I mean, they've come in and talk about disruptors. I mean, they've really shaken up the television market. They've got a terrific following every week. I think about 2.7 million people a week.
Wow.
And it's a very loyal audience.
Yeah.
And it's very powerful. However, what GB News won't be able to get, or any of them be able to get, is the under 25 market.
Right.
The Gen Z market don't even know what television is.
Yeah.
It's not part of their lives. Just, we grew up with television being quite a central part of family life. They don't even know what it is. And it's to that generation that's where the new media stuff really, really works. And I'm very encouraged by Gen Z. They're not like the millennials. They've gone. I mean, they're all work-life balance and be happy. Great. But well, we all want to be happy, but you know what I mean. Now, I see a lot of energy in Gen Z. I see a lot of ambition in Gen Z. I mean, a lot of young men and women going out around the country in that bracket. They were smartly turned out, want to get on. And they're the people from whom we're going to get the political revolution. It's going to come from that age group. It really is.
Interesting. So I've got this final question. I've got this theory about tax. So my accountant, who's very good, says the tax code is thousands of pages long. It's really complicated. And I don't know how many people need to be hired to keep this very complicated system alive. What about if it was just ripped up and we just had a flat tax rate? And what about if the earlier you start in business, the less tax you pay?
So this happened after the fall of the Berlin Wall. This happened in the Baltic states.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it successful?
Lithuania had introduced a flat tax system. Yeah. Very. But they were starting from scratch. As radical as I am, I don't think the British public is ready for flat taxes yet. But I think we can aim there. We can certainly have flatter, simpler taxes. We can have fewer bands. You'll always have the problem of cliff edges. Again, the beauty of flat taxes, there are no cliff edges.
Yeah.
That's the joy of it.
Yeah.
Or there may be some at the bottom, but in the middle there are none. Flatter, simpler taxes. The UK tax code is now 21,000 pages long. It is. Oh, yeah.
21,000 pages.
The most complex tax system in the world.
How many staff does it require just to keep that up to date?
I mean, it's very good for local accountants, by the way.
Well, of course.
Hello, I'm paying you lots of money. Because I can't do it.
No.
Well, none of us can. I mean, if you've got a business with a reasonable income and you're paying people, you're almost mad to do the books yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you fall foul of any of it, you can be in real trouble. So flatter, simpler taxes, yes. Absolute flat tax system, no. I still think mentally the British public think a lower rate for lower earners, a higher rate for higher earners. That redistribution idea is quite firmly ingrained in our minds, but it can be a damn sight better than it is.
And why do... Another theory I have is that befriend the billionaires, the big corporations, take a bit more off them, because I understand some big companies are avoiding corporation tax. They're paying like 4% when we're paying 25%.
That's the irony. Yeah.
Why couldn't you just get 8% out of them?
Yeah.
And then you're probably putting hundreds of billions back into the economy.
Yeah, I mean, this is about competition, isn't it? So why have Ireland done so well in terms of big American companies and others headquartering in Ireland?
They've lured them in.
Competitive tax rate. And what have we done? What did the Tories do? They put up corporation tax by 31%.
Yeah.
From 19 to 25p in the pound, whilst Ireland's still 12.5. You have to be competitive. You want to succeed in life, at anything, you have to be competitive. And what Rachel Reeves did yesterday was to make us even less competitive than we were before.
How do they not know this?
Don't ask me. Don't ask me. I've been scratching my head for 30 years asking myself that question. Different people, groupthink. A lot of people from very similar backgrounds, very similar types of people who tend to live their political lives, with many of them, run through their whole life. They don't have hobbies, most of them. Outside interests, friends. Most of them wouldn't be seen dead going down to the local pub. They live in this political battle, a bubble. And if you live like that, then you self-reinforce perhaps the views that you started with to the degree when you stop thinking about all the others. And that's, again, where politics needs a massive shake-up. We need different people with a much broader range of backgrounds. I think politics was so much better when I was a kid. I know people say things like that, but I think it was, because I think, your classic Labour MP had, been down the pit and had risen up through the union and was somebody that had leadership abilities and could stand and speak without reading everything off. And I mean, unbelievable. They can't even do PMQs without reading it out.
Yeah.
It's incredible. When your classic Tory had been a decorated soldier in the war or had run a country estate but they'd all done something. They'd all been something before they entered politics.
Right.
And now you get the, Oxford and Cambridge University Research Office MP at 28. What do they know? Too many of them. College kids.
Right.
No good.
Yeah. Why can't we just have a few more people who've really run some serious businesses?
We need it. We need it now more than ever before. But if you're running a serious business, do you want the level of intrusion? Do you want the level of risk? Do you want the level of scrutiny? It's tough.
No, but I did say this. I was interviewed on a big podcast a couple of days ago. I said if the government came to me and said, Rob, give us 5-8 hours a week of your time to consult and advise and help. And
you do it.
I would do it. And I would do it for free.
Yeah,
and I reckon every other entrepreneur would as well, for free.
No, I agree with that.
Because I care about my country.
Yeah, well, with what you're doing already, going out around schools, things like that, trying to spread this message, it's really, really important.
Thank you. So, Nigel, can you give us something you haven't told anyone else about what you're planning for the next few years?
No.
Yes, you can.
No.
Yes,
no.
you can.
No, it's all under wraps, dear boy. It's all under wraps. It's an interesting thing, but successful politics is as much about perspiration as it is about inspiration. And right now, we're in the boiler room. Zia Youssef, who's become our party chairman, very successful entrepreneur, late 30s, and he and I are working together like crazy to build structure, to build organisation.
You mean for your party?
Yeah, to get people trained.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I'm planning to do in the next few years relies upon having the network and the structure built.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing at the moment. That takes up most of my time at the moment. And if we get that bit right, then you just watch us.
All right. And we will. And as much as I'd love to end on that, I just have thought of one thing I want to ask.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a radical idea, but are senior politicians underpaid?
Yes, but you'll never convince the public of that. You'll never convince the public of that. I'm afraid. It's funny. When I was in Brussels, there were 10,000 staff in the European Commission whose take-home pay was higher than the British Prime Minister. Amazing. Amazing. And it's the same here. The civil servants earn more than the politicians. If you paid more money, would you get higher quality people? Possibly.
Would they do a better job? Would they be less interested in getting their glasses paid?
I'd love to think so. But will the British public ever support that? No. It's not happening. It's not happening. If you want to make money, don't go into politics. You want to change the country, in the end, you have to.
Yeah.
It's a big sacrifice. For many people, it's a very big sacrifice. Certainly for me, I mean, the financial sacrifice of the European Parliament for me was absolutely huge. You know, leaving the city, packing up my company just before the big commodities boom. But do I regret it? No, because I followed my dream, followed my passion, worked hard at it, enjoyed most of it. As my assistant, my press guy, and we've been together 10 years. And as he says, Nigel, we've won a few, we've lost a few, we've had a damn good time.
Nigel, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. If you'd like to make, manage and multiply money and get access to my private channel for daily hard-hitting money-making tips. How I bought this Aston Martin, no money down, with other people's money. Go now to t.me/Rob Moore Official. It's my official Telegram channel. Every day I'm hitting you with content on making, multiplying, understanding money and beating the system at its own game.